हमारा मदरसा अल-कुबा उसका कोई और मकसद नहीं है। मैं सिर्फ ये चाहता हूँ कि अहले सुन्नत के कुछ अफराद नौजवान तैयार हो जाएं, हमें बच्चे दें और मौलवी लें।
والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا حبيب الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله. The beloved and blessed Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, "The closest one to me on the day of judgment will be the one who has recited the most durood upon me in the world." I do dua Allah Azza wa Jal gives us the ability to recite durood and salawat upon the Prophet ﷺ in abundance. So the topic for today's reminder, which will be a short reminder, is riyah, showing off. Now, some scholars have defined showing off or ostentation as doing acts of worship for other than Allah, i.e. doing worship to get name or fame from people, to get recognition or titles from people, or some sort of other worldly benefit. The reason I've decided to talk about this topic is I feel that in today's society that this spiritual disease is something which can easily be fallen into because of this phenomenon of social media, and we live in a culture where everything and any type of worship we do is put onto social media. For example, when one is to pray or praise namaz, a picture of the masalla goes up on social media, or some sort of message indicating that I've just prayed namaz goes on there. When a person fasts, the picture of the Attari go on there. When a person gives charity, the amount they've given goes up everywhere. Their face goes up everywhere where they've given it. And even now, when you go to Umrah or Hajj, it's as if Hajj or Umrah is not complete unless you take that selfie in front of the Kaaba. Now, all of these actions in and of themselves, they may not be bad, but the intention with which they are done may make them from one of the worst actions a person can do or one of the best actions a person can do. And that's the purpose of this reminder, to look at the intention behind why we do things and to make sure that we're not falling into this action of showing off. Now, with the examples that I've just given, how can they be good actions? If someone is to have the intention when they are posting on social media that I'm posting on there, if anyone sees it, maybe it will inspire them to get up and read namaz. In that situation, you're actually pushing someone to do one of the obligations of the deen. It becomes a very good act to do. It's not as bad act as if you're showing off, but it's that intention. If the intention was to show off, it becomes one of the worst actions. If it's to inspire other people to do good, it becomes one of the best actions. In the same way, when you are sharing what sort of charity you are giving, if you share it with the intention that other people will see you giving that charity and they themselves will start to give to those charities or similar amounts, or they will be inspired by you giving, then it becomes a good act because you're encouraging people towards good. But if it is just on there to show people that, look how generous I am, and to get that accolade from people that, wow, this person is generous, then it becomes one of the worst actions. In the same way, Hajj and Umrah, if you go there and you are still, even with any sort of good intention, I don't like it when people do take pictures in front of the Kaaba. I think it ruins the sanctity of the place. But if you're in and around there and you're revealing to people how peaceful that place is, how blessed that place is, the different ziyaras that are there, and you encourage someone to go and visit those places, it can be one of the best actions you do. Because we see many people that go to the Haramain, they come back with, and they've changed their lives. And if you are the inspiration for them to go there, your action of putting it on social media might be the reason someone has changed their life. So it becomes one of the best actions, again, that you can do. But in all of these, it's the intention and the sincerity behind which you're doing the action that counts. I know we've had a live based on sincerity and intention before, earlier on in Ramadan. So I'm not going to focus too much on that. I just want to, but because it is intrinsically linked with this topic of showing off, I'll mention it slightly here as well. If the intention is done purely for the sake of Allah, any action you do would be a good action. But if any action you do and it's not for the pleasure of Allah, it's to show people, it would fall into this category of showing off. And the seriousness of this action of showing off is highlighted to us in the blessed hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is a famous hadith where 3 types of people will be brought to the court of the Prophet brought on the day of judgment in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. The first one of them would be a shaheed. And giving your life in the way of Allah is one of the best acts you can do in Islam. But what will happen to that shaheed? He will be reminded of the favors Allah gave to him. That person will then testify and agree with the favors that Allah has given to him. He will then tell Allah with those favors that he gave his life in the way of Allah. Then Allah Azza wa Jalla will say to him, you didn't do it for me. You did it so people call you a brave person. See the link? You did it for the people. That goes back to the sincerity of the intention. Was it for the people or was it for Allah? And because it was for the people, he's got nothing in the hereafter. He gets sent to hell. Then the next person is the one who learns the deen and then teaches it. In the same way, his action was for the people, so they call him a learned person. They give him all these accolades and titles. He has nothing in the hereafter. He is then also sentenced to hell. And the last one, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was another category of person. Yeah, it was someone who's generous and gives a lot of charity in the way of Allah. That person will be told as well that your actions weren't purely for my sake. They were so people call you generous. Again, it was because his action or the intention behind his action. Giving zakah and giving any form of charity is such a beautiful action and one that is encouraged in Islam. But look at the intention, how the intention ruins the action. Something which could have been an action that leads him to Jannah. The intention behind it makes him fall into hellfire because the act was not purely for the sake of Allah. But with all of these, I want to remind myself first and everyone else, these examples that I've given, this definition of Riyah is an internal matter. Is one of the problems of the heart. It's a disease of the heart. And nobody can see into anyone else's heart what the intention behind the actions of the other person is. So you have no right in this religion to judge someone else that they are posting this on social media or they are announcing this good deed to show off on this is the intention behind their action. The only, and this is forbidden in the deen to judge other people in this way and have a bad opinion about them. The purpose of this is self-rectification, to look within ourselves. Is this description that has been described, what this showing off has been described, is this description coming into our actions? The posts that we are posting out there, the way we are telling people, are we falling into this category or not? Then the purpose is that recognize that if it is, how do you cure that? And I will finish with this. One of our teachers, he gave me 3 practical points to help fight against the showing off. The first of them, he said, learn about the diseases of the heart, learn about showing off, and then the more you know about it, the easier you will find it. He said you won't find it easy, but it's easier than if you didn't know about it. And because he knew I play cricket, and most of the people on here probably know that as well, he gave me the example through cricket. He said, look, when you've got a batsman in front of you, when you're bowling at him, if you know his strengths and his weaknesses, you will find it easier to get him out than someone who is unknown to you and you've never seen him bat before. The reason is you'll avoid bowling towards his strengths. You'll bowl at his weaknesses. Where you think he will hit the ball, you put a fielder there and you'll find it a lot easier to get him out. And he said in the same way, the more you know about these diseases of the heart, the more you can recognize them, the more you can see the examples, the more you'll be able to see if these actions or this trait is coming within your character. And the more you know about the cures, the easier you should find it to fight against that. That was the first practical point he gave me to try and fight against this spiritual disease. And I found 2 books which were very beneficial for this. The first one was Purification of the Heart by Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. It's the English translation of Imam Maulud's Ma'tharatul Qulub. It's a very good book. It goes through all this, the majority, if not all of the spiritual diseases. It tells you the signs of them. It tells you the examples of them, and it tells you how to fight them. And this is a book that should be read by everyone in today's society. It'll give you details about what these, not just showing off, all the other diseases of the heart as well and how to fight against them. The other book that I liked on this topic was one by Maulana Ilyas Qadri. He is on Dawud Islami's website. It's called Showing Off. It's available in English and it literally tells you everything you need to know about this topic. When you should announce your actions, when you shouldn't, what your intention should be for hiding the actions, what it should be for doing them in public and everything. So this was the first one, learning about it. They're the two books that I found. If anyone else has any other books or scholars or speeches on this topic which they found beneficial, please do share them in the comments so everyone else can benefit from them as well. The second point that scholar mentioned, that teacher mentioned to me, to avoid or try to bring more sincerity into my actions and avoid showing off. He said, make your actions in private better than your actions in public. And he said, the worship you do in private should be better than what you do in front of people in the public. And he gave the example. He gave me a few examples. He said, when you're praying, reading namaz in public, and then praying in private, your sajda, your qira'ah, your ruku, your sujood, they should all be equal, if not better, when you're in private. And if they're not better when you're in private and they are better when you're in public, there's an issue with your sincerity. He said, to increasing your sincerity, try to make your private one better. He said, when you're giving charity in front of people, if you are giving more in front of people than you are in private, check your sincerity. Why are you giving more when people are watching and you're giving less when nobody's watching? And then the third point, and I'll finish on this point because I don't want to speak for much longer. I've got nothing else to say. It's not because it's late like everyone else has been saying. It's just I've got nothing else to say. The third point he said to me, and this is one of the hardest points I found to act upon. He said, hide your good deeds the way you hide your bad deeds. And on the face of it, it might sound easy, but then he asked me two rhetorical questions. He said, I'll ask you two questions, remain silent after both of them and think about them, and try to act upon the lesson that's given. And I will end on these two questions as well. He said, think, how many bad deeds do you have that are between you and Allah only and nobody else knows? And then very quickly, quite a few came to mind. After about 10 seconds, he stopped me. He said, right, the second question. Now, how many good deeds do you have that are between you and Allah only and nobody else knows? And I was there for a few minutes. I couldn't think of a single one. And even now, I still find it hard to do any sort of action which nobody else, good action which nobody else knows about. I'm going to end on that point. I hope at least someone found it beneficial. I'm not going to take any questions because I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer any of them anyway. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.